Now that I've got the Black Mirror analyses out the way, I can get back to what I do normally, and it's really weird and confusing. But let's talk about 2023's The Flash, not to be confused with The Flash or The Flash. Well done if you kept up. So it's directed by Andy Muschietti with a screenplay by Christine Hodson. There are other screenwriters and obviously character credits that I'm not going to get into, but those are the two main people you need to know. And of course it stars the three people behind me, Michael Keaton, Ezra Miller and Sasha Calle, as well as Casey Clemens, and a lot of people who I'm not going to mention right now. This is very recently, or has very recently been released onto streaming platforms, at least here in the UK, and therefore I don't want to give too many spoilers for those like me who didn't catch it theatrically and are catching up after the fact. So do not worry, you can watch up to a certain point and I will tell you, I will clearly mark out this is now spoiler territory, or spoiler terry. That's still one of my favourite flubs I've ever made. But yeah, I will definitely warn you. So what did I think of the film? Well, I've either said it in a video that I've recorded that hasn't been released yet because something came along and screwed over 5 weeks of my life, or I've said it somewhere and I've forgotten when it is, but I've definitely said at some point, and I'm not alone in this, that mediocre films, not mediocre I suppose, but acceptable films, fine films, are a dying breed in the public's eyes. They're not at all in reality, but the general public are polarised. We are moving into a very binary world, I guess you'd say, where a film's either absolutely amazing, the best thing in the world, or it's a pile of dog crap. There is no middle ground, no nuance. And that is a massive disservice, not only to films themselves, but to fans. If you go in thinking you've been disappointed because you were simply entertained, then you don't understand what the purpose of entertainment is. It's in the name, strangely enough. This sits, I believe, at 7 something on IMDb when I looked, and I would say that's fine. That's perfectly acceptable. And some of those points do come from other things, not necessarily just the plot or anything like that. There are certain nods that I think have boosted people's opinion of it, which is fine. In something like this, fan service done well is fine. That's another issue. People slam fan service going, oh, you're just pandering. But you want to service the fans. I'm a fan. I enjoy it. I enjoy these nods and winks and things, these callbacks, these little references, these blink and you'll miss it moments. I'm going to have to go into detail at the end of it because it is spoiler based, but I shed a couple of tears in this film. This film about men who run fast. And that is strange to some people because this is just a popcorn flick, but it evoked emotions from me because that's what a film is meant to do. And I say film, it's technically a movie. None of this was probably shot on actual film, but semantics. But that's the thing. This film set out to entertain, and it did it well. Whilst there may have been issues in their personal life, and some of those I think are misunderstandings and not realising that there's certain things you shouldn't do even if a fan asks when you are a public figure, but I believe they are seeking help for that, so that's fine. But the character was still kind of what we know. Now, one of the things I really enjoyed that they did is they turned the mirror on Barry. Because Barry is the light, the comic relief, the funny guy in the Justice League. And it's a role that works for someone like that, sort of hyperactive. You do expect that. But it can be annoying and grating, so getting a chance to actually show them, no, this is what it looks like, was a really clever move. And whilst I'm on that, some of the face replacement that they did, rather than doing it as the old school where you'd put actor in scene with double and then film actor in the double role and basically swap over and composite down a seam, if you will, in the scene, I think from what I can see here, it's a body double then face replaced, and it doesn't always work. I don't want to make people who haven't seen it yet spot it too much, but it is noticeable if you're looking, and I'm sorry if this is enough, but I was warned about it up front, and I'm just sharing that love. But everyone here does really well. I do love Sasha Calle as Kara Zor-El as Supergirl. I wasn't sure how well she'd work, but I enjoyed it. I thought it worked very well. And of course, getting to see Michael Keaton don the Batsuit again. And of course, a lot of the stuff, is either CG enhanced or stunt doubles, things like that. But it's still believable. You are thinking this is an old Bruce Wayne who's fighting alongside the Flash and Supergirl. in this weird alternate reality. And it's great. It's so fun. And like I say, it doesn't have to be Citizen Kane. It doesn't have to be... I was going to say The Room, but at least The Room's one of those that comes around the other side because it's so hilarious. But it doesn't have to be that, like this awful film. Where it is, what it set out to do, it achieved, it entertained me. And therefore, I would recommend it. If you've watched the other DCEU films, you'll probably enjoy it. If you've watched the old Batman films, you'll definitely enjoy it. If you just like superhero films in general, you'll enjoy it. So that is my recommendation. Yes, go and watch The Flash, if you've got any vague interest. But now, in that very clearly marked out, we are now in spoiler territory. There is nothing moving forward that if you haven't seen the film, well, there will be stuff, but if you're moving forward, you either don't care or you've seen it. That's what I'm trying to get at. I think that's enough time for all the spoiler phobes to have run away now. So let's move on. One of the biggest things of this film is is it cameos? I don't know. But the multiple Batmen, because we don't just get Michael Keaton. We don't just get Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton. We get others here. We get a George Clooney at the end. And I'm so excited for that, because now that canonizes Batman and Robin. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. I've still got to do Batman Forever and Batman and Robin in my Batman overview stuff, that I started ages ago. I'm not going to involve James in those because I'm kind. But I do want to complete them. And they will probably be coming out sooner rather than later, so I can just tick them off my list. But it was so... because I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't think that's Keaton, but I don't think it's Affleck either. It was really throwing me on the phone. But yeah, when we see Clooney, I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, got it, brilliant. The other big elements, obviously, that quick Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa, these nods back. It is a shame that we're losing the DCEU, because there are certain elements of it that I really do like. I saw a post saying, like, why do people keep casting Gal Gadot and stuff? Because she hasn't got a wide range. And the best comeback ever followed. Clint Eastwood was once asked a similar kind of question, or it was discussed. Like, you'll never see Clint Eastwood do Shakespeare. It's like, no. But you wouldn't see Laurence Olivier doing Dirty Harry either. So, if you've got a thing that works and you can do it well, then do it. And Gal Gadot can do empathetic but powerful. That is a good thing. She can do that kind of role. And every time I see Wonder Woman, I haven't done WW84 because a lot of people didn't like it, but I have seen it and I enjoyed it for what it was. But she does it well. I buy her as Diana. It's fine. Getting Michael Shannon back as Zod, it did seem kind of flat, but I don't know if that was a not really wanting to do it, but kind of like, okay, it works and it makes sense, and maybe he just needs a paycheck. I tend to like him. He's one of those guys who seems quite decent, seems to do a lot of indie stuff as well, and like I say, I like Michael Shannon, so I don't want to say anything bad about him necessarily. Maybe, like I say, he just doesn't have the enthusiasm for the role anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's because this isn't likely going to be picked up again. It's like, well, what's the point? This is just a nod back. It's not really going to be a call forward if we're shaking everything up. But yeah, the thing that really got me emoting was the end, the worlds colliding. There are two moments that got me for different reasons, and I'll go through them in the order of emotional resonance, I suppose. The one that got me crying a little first was the Nicolas Cage battling the giant spider, because that was going to be the Tim Burton Superman film, and there was a little tear of nostalgia, I guess. It was like, I remember this. Oh yes, that was the thing that was going to happen. And whoever the producer was, I can't remember, but they also did Wild Wild West. That's how much they wanted a robot spider. They put it into that. I believe. That might be one of those urban legends. But that really got me. That hit me in a way of like, oh my god, this is what we could have had. And that's amazing. But the other one that brought a genuine tear of... not sadness. I don't know what it is. A sort of bittersweetness, I suppose. And apparently it's been quite controversial. Was the Helen Slater and Christopher Reeve one. I think some of the issue that people have is this is a guy who obviously can't do the role anymore. I mean, for a period it was because of physical limitations, but still alive. Now it's the physical limitation of not being alive anymore. But to me it was just a little nod back. It's a mark of respect. That's how I interpret it. We are standing on the shoulders of what came before. That's what this whole scene is to me. All of this was a nod. It's a shame that we didn't perhaps see a Grant Gustin Flash and stuff like that for the people who have loved the Arrowverse, maybe some of those elements more so. But yeah, I get why, you know, some of them were put in. And like I was saying before, fan service done right works. And for me, this was fan service done right. Did the CGI look a bit ropey? For a lot of this film, it did. I can't deny that. And the fact that it's taken so long from Inception to coming out makes it a bit less forgivable. But it still tugged at the heartstrings. It still got me. I enjoyed this for what it is. And like I said, if you've sat through this and you haven't seen it because you didn't care about spoilers, I've probably robbed some of that emotional resonance. This is why I made a big thing of it. But still, watch it. I still recommend it. It's still fun. And stay for the post-credits. There's a great little scene. But that's as far as I'm going to go with that. So yeah, I enjoyed The Flash. I'm optimistic for what the DCU will bring, but obviously we've still got other stuff to come. Aquaman 2. I think Blue Beetle is technically being considered like a pivot point into the DCU, so we'll see how that works out. But yeah, I enjoyed it for what it is, and that's what we should look at every film, movie, whatever you want to call it, as. Did it entertain me? Did it do its job? And that's me doing my job. So thank you, as always, for watching, and until next time, take care. Sonic Flash crossover.